show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Turning a Moment into a Movement. My name is J Love, and I represent the Justice for Gerard movement. Gerard is my son who was wrongfully convicted of a crime he didn't do. He innocent and served 2 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. And so through that journey, it birthed this movement, Turning a Moment into a Movement, where we come on Fridays at 6 p.m. We talk about wrongful incarcerations, injustice, and today we're going to discuss post-traumatic prison disorder and suicide prevention. Actually, today is World Suicide World Suicide Prevention Day. Yeah. Anywho, I'm glad that you guys are here so we can have this important conversation because so much is going on in the world and people need a support system. And so we're here to support everyone who's on this panel and speaker are a support for you. You can always contact them. We all are here for you, and anywhere we can assist you or we can get you to the right conversation or the right person to help you with your issues. Just feel free to contact us by Facebook, Messenger, or at freegerard01@gmail.com. So again, thank you for joining us. So now I'm going to bring on the panel. Hi, Rev Tia.
Well, hello, everyone. Hello, Jay. I'm so happy to be here today.
I'm so happy to be here.
Just this is a huge topic. I'm excited because I believe that this platform, you got to know your why when you're doing anything. So why this platform? And when you talk about turning a moment into a movement, it helps us to recognize that no matter what's going on, we have the power to change and alter the situation, but you got to start from somewhere. And it doesn't have to be what you think it's going to be or the way it has always been. And this movement makes us remember that now is the time for us to change the narrative on so many things that people who are disenfranchised deal with. And so as of course, I'm a minister over at Transforming Love Community, which is a non-denominational church. And I've been in mental health for more than 20 years. I'm a doctoral candidate with North Central University. And I've been working with nonprofits, oh my goodness, for over 20 years. And I am really feeling in purpose now more than ever, even during this pandemic, because this is the moment. This is the time where people are really feeling the disparities, and the news that we see is not going to tell you the truth. And I'm not going to take up much more time. I just want to say that right now they're saying, when you read reports, they're saying that suicide is down. And we know differently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Rev Tia.
Thank you.
Hi, Attorney Hugo Mack.
Well, hello. I want to be sure to play me for the fool again. Can you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you.
Woo! Wiping this. Woo! Okay, that's good. Look, first of all, I really want to say thank you so much, J Love and Reverend Tia and the other members of the panel. I agree wholeheartedly with Reverend Tia. This is such an important topic we're going to talk about tonight. I, from my own penitentiary experience, can tell you that the the months and the years are not really the hardest. It's the minute, the hours, and the days, because you are constantly bombarded with your surrounding. And sometimes just getting through a minute, especially for a person that's been wrongfully convicted, is I can't begin to tell you what that's like, because your mind is so bombarded. And I just have to tell you, being very transparent, through my own penitentiary experience, you talk about suicide. For an inmate to run into the fence or to try to climb a fence, that is suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is suicide. And when you're on in like in Jackson Central Compound there, where you got like 5 tiers, six tiers of cells, jumping off the 5th tier or even the 4th or 3rd tier, that is suicide. All right,
Mm-hmm.
because all you have waiting for you is cement. Is cement. Okay, and it's uh, I've seen many cases where people have committed suicide within the penitentiary. Within the
Mm-hmm.
penitentiary. So it's a topic that's dear to me, and I'm so glad we have a young lady that's going to be talking and stuff. So uh, everybody knows my story. I'm a criminal defense attorney, candidate for Washington County prosecutor in 2020, because change needs to come, and delivered from the penitentiary. And I thank God and Jesus Christ for that. And so I've dedicated the rest of my life to helping the wrongfully convicted and the overly convicted, of
Yeah.
which there are tens of thousands in the state of Michigan. So I'm very honored to be here with y'all today, J Love.
I'm so happy you're here, Attorney Hugo Mack.
Okay, thank you.
So our next panel member, hi, Allie.
Hello.
How
How's
are you
everybody
today?
doing?
Hey,
Great.
Good.
Tell everybody who you are and what it is that you do.
Yes. My name is Alexandra Hughes. I am an activist fighting for Black lives, very passionate about mental health, also women's rights. I believe that a woman's body is not a group discussion. I am a behavior therapist and coordinator, as well as on Representative Kyra Bolden's advisory council. And I'm glad to be here today because, mental health is something I've been passionate about since I was a kid. And, it's more of
Line
a
in.
topic
Please say a command.
we talk about now. But, I've
Connect to
seen
Galaxy
people go through some
12.
tough times. So
I didn't understand you. Please.
to the forefront more.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm so happy that you're here. You're in Reverend Tia. Reverend Tia, I know you guys have a wealth of information. So I'm excited about this um, today's event. Hello, Trisha.
Hey everybody.
How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed and I was running late and I was like, this topic, I've been waiting for this. And I'm like, I have got to pop on here um, because when it comes to suicide awareness, it's such a taboo topic and so many people are suffering. And so many people we wouldn't even believe, people that
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't even think that are suffering, that's suffering. And something that's very personal to me because I battled suicidal ideation from the age of 4 years old on and off until I tried to
So,
nothing that I won't deal with, right? Because unless you really deal, that's the only way to heal. And unfortunately, so many people, they're hurting and they don't even know what that process looks like. So it's gonna take platforms like this to really help educate people and to let people know that it is okay. It's okay to say that you're not okay. Happy to be with
right.
y'all as usual. And sorry about being late, Jay.
No, you could. You're okay. I know, 6 o'clock is, Friday, but we here. So I'm going to bring on our guest. Hello.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hi. Could you introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are?
Yes, ma'am. So my name is Shawanna Vaughn, and I'm the director of Silent Cry. And currently, I have the only mass incarceration mental health bill in the country called Post-Traumatic Prison Disorder, Shawanna W76337.
Yes. And so, Shawanna, also you are, you have a book.
I need to
that
wait.
came out. So if you could tell us a little bit about the book, and then we'll get into the
Yes, yes. Oh my God, that's so exciting. So I just wrote a book called Cries for Change. And it's talking about my life. It's talking about um, women collectively in prison and the traumas that they endure. It's talking about legislation, and Cries for Change is really a journey from incarceration to advocacy. And it's not a one person story, it is a narrative that has been done over and over. And I wanted to make people understand what that looks like. Um, and, because my story is I was born in trauma, I was born in prison, and nobody ever talks about trauma from the womb. And that's exactly what I talk about is slavery wasn't 500 years ago. I was born on a plantation in a prison, and that was slavery. And so that's what Cries for Change is about. And I really, want people to read it, but I want people to understand that it's a journey of healing, and it's where do we go now?
Exactly. So let's discuss what is post-traumatic prison disorder. And
So post-traumatic prison disorder is something that I'm trying to currently get in the DSM-5. Like, we're clear what the ACEs are, adverse childhood experiences. And my adverse childhood experiences from being born to prison, foster care, and back to prison at 17 led me to post-traumatic prison disorder. Because no matter what habitat you're in, it's your habitat and you're used to it. Prison was not a habitat that I was ready for at 17 in any capacity. I was in a room with lifers. And I don't know if you guys know this lady, but there was a lady named Diane Downs, and she had murdered people in Oregon in 1982, and her children, actually. And she said a black man did it. That was my roommate. And I had an out date, and they didn't. And so it was very interesting for me. I learned more about criminalization in prison than I ever learned free. I watched sexual violence from officers. And I understood that in the free world, there's rules. In the free world, people go to prison, but we're already in prison, and people are being dehumanized and violated, and people are having hysterectomies. And I remember a guard telling me, don't ask for too many pads because they'll sterilize you. I'm 18 and I'm going, what is that? Because I didn't understand. And prison was more traumatic than anything I've ever dealt with or ever faced as a young person in society. And when I came home, I walked the length of a prison cell. When I came home, I have interpersonal relationship issues. I have anxiety issues. I have all kinds of issues. And I realized that they all stem from prison. I did not walk into prison with the issues that I came out with 5 years later. Who's responsible for those, and what do you call them? It's not post-traumatic stress disorder. I did not go to the military. You do not honor me. You do not give me privileges. You do not give me therapists. You do not give me holistic care. You give me $40 in a bus ticket and you say, I'll see you on your way back to prison because we did not heal you on purpose. And so I realized what post-traumatic prison disorder was for me, and where I got it. Because if you can name where you got something, that's its root cause. Prison was the root of which caused the most trauma. And that's why my legislation is called post-traumatic prison disorder. Not that all mental disorders do not matter, because they do. But for those who did not walk into prison with them, they developed there. And it was the breeding ground to create a crisis of mental health disorders.
Wow. So I want to ask Tia and Allie, you guys are in this field. So suicide is like one of the leading causes of death for, I think, 10-year-olds to 35, 39-year-olds, right?
In America.
And then not only that, well, Shawanna is telling us about the trauma of incarceration and stuff. How, I don't want to say how, but how do we prevent the suicide when you have all this trauma?
I feel like I can speak to the youth portion a lot. I know the rate of suicide has been increasing for Black girls ages 15 to 27, and they're calling it a crisis. That's like one that's just not paid attention to enough. Forgetting the wording for it, but multiple research outlets have said that last year, they've been saying it's increasing, and it's like not good, like to an extreme rate. So I know one way with all the trauma we do have is to slow that or stop that, and it's too early on, of course. Having sort of positive, positive just conversations about who they are as Black people, as Black girls, reinforcing, that, Black is beautiful in various ways, positive reinforcement, really doing that early on and consistently doing that.
Yeah, because I just read today that amongst Black young girls, the suicide rate is climbing, and it's not really being addressed. And so when we're talking about that,
yeah,
like Shawanna was talking about the trauma she faced as a kid.
And I was looking at something that said it's the third leading cause of death between 15 to 24-year-olds. And that's like that should not even be a thought of a 15-year-old or a 24-year-old, and anything in between.
Right.
That definitely needs to be more public, and there needs to be a light on that.
Right.
It's something that's tough to deal with. I've had personally, people reach out to me about that, about their own kids.
Right.
And it's, it's really hard to deal with. I will say that personally, even when helping people, it's tough for me to deal with because it's someone that's so young.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, Allie, yes, that's the young people it is climbing. It's a ridiculous number now. The other thing is really underreported. So we don't have true numbers because it is underreported, because suicide and mental health is an issue that many minority cultures do not want to discuss. They don't want to bring it up. And there's like a two-way street here, because not only do they not want to bring it up, because there's a reason why they don't want to bring it up, and we never want to get to the reason why they don't want to bring it up. But a lot of times the therapies used, or the therapist, you have implicit biases, you have shame and guilt that go along with that. But talking about what Shawanna was talking about, the adverse childhood experiences, when they go into a prison situation, anybody in America who is not quote unquote American, according to what some believe true Americans are, which they are not, have already been traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
So really, you're being re-traumatized. So, you know, if you grow up and you have adverse childhood experiences, you have all these experiences that traumatize you. Then you grow up and you're in society that you're going to be re-traumatized again. So you're going through trauma constantly. And so when you give the numbers about suicide, these numbers are for United States. They don't have these numbers in other countries. When you do the research, United States is the highest, has the highest recorded measurement of unhappiness, of depression, and of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe that a lot, especially when it comes to the youth, there's no filters anymore. There's no filters to safeguard. There are some, we don't use them, to safeguard our children. And so they're just out here. And people they don't think about it. They don't think about the safeguards that we need, you know. And so they compare themselves. Young girls are comparing themselves constantly to an image that they'll never be. They're constantly looking outside themselves. They're constantly saying, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not going to make the cut. You know, I call it the land of not enough. And so because people aren't safeguarded, they don't have any source of, they can have it, but many don't have it because it hasn't been passed down. It hasn't been shown to them, or they just don't know. They just don't know it. You know, like my grandmother used to say, you know, if they know better, they would do better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we've got to, you know, I believe the answer is going to be initiating a way of being, you know, allowing them to become empowered again. And at the same time, we still got to fight on the forefront with legislation and other areas too, because there's so many areas of disparity that, you know, the list goes on and on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like the change is definitely twofold, like you're saying. Like it's not just us working on ourselves and helping each other, building community, a system like of our own. We can't do that and heal unless that system is gone, unless that, you know, the biggest mental health facility is a prison. So that has to be gone for us to heal. So it's twofold. You know, it's the trauma is going to be sustained if we, you know, don't do it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And what you're saying that, Allie, we know that the numbers of has gone up, and I guess Attorney Hugo Mack can attest to this, of people with mental illness inside the prisons. Mm-hmm. And are they able to get adequate help? You know, are they able to get therapy? Are they able to get medication? I know when Gerard was in there, immediately they gave him medication.
Correct.
Because they wanted him to sleep. And he didn't want to sleep. You know, he called me like, Mom, they give me this medication and they just want me to sleep. And I want to be aware. So they medicate people and give them other problems. Attorney Hugo Mack.
Right. And that is so true. You know, and I can tell you from personal experience and professional experience, you know, they've got what they call the Medline in the penitentiary. And people have details where they're allowed to go to Medline once, twice, 3 times a day. And, you know, you'd think people are lined up for government cheese, okay? because they have people just in a line, okay, in a line. Um, all your dignity is lost because everybody knows what the Medline is, and people in a penitentiary can be exceedingly cruel to other people in a penitentiary, okay? And,
Mhm.
I just remember seeing so many times men going from the Medline and just walking around the track. I mean, literally looking like zombies walking around the track, talking to themselves. And see, the problem was when a person is medicated and not themselves or struggling, they can easily become victims of assault, sexual and otherwise. Okay, I've seen people have their store order taken from them because they can't really defend themselves, certainly not physically, but and certainly not mentally. Another thing I want to talk about is this: in the state of Michigan, they've got statutes that say you can find a person guilty but mentally ill. All right, guilty but mentally ill. Well, to me, from what I saw inside myself and as a professional outside, guilty but mentally ill is the same as guilty because they have special units that they would try to place people that say, well, they're mentally ill. But I saw no operative treatment for those individuals other than medication. I didn't see any therapy for those folks. I didn't see any of that. So the way they did it, and I'm sure somebody said this before, it's really a warehousing of the mentally ill. It really is. The Department of Corrections does not have the money or resources to give people with mental challenges the attention they need. And plus, if you get too out of line, get combative, they'll just ship you to a higher security level, mentally ill or not, or put you in the hole. All right, put you in the hole. So it's just a cascading series of problems. But at least in Washtenaw County, with the equivalent of a millage that was passed a couple of years back, they at least have some more resources to try to address mental illness here. I'm telling you right now, the jailers at the Washtenaw County Jail are ill-equipped to deal with mental illness. When the punk known as John Engler closed down like the Lafayette Clinic in Detroit, see, he just made a glide path from the streets with people with mental illness to the penitentiary, you see?
Mm-hmm.
And he said I would stack them like cordwood if I could. Well, he was talking about me. He was talking about your son, J Love. He was talking about people Allie and Tia and the young lady that's with us. He's talking about us. So when you stack people like cordwood, medicating cordwood is not on anybody's financial scheme. So, it's a complex problem, but it has to start with dealing with mental illness in the penitentiary, which is rampant.
Yes, Rev Tia.
Yeah, it's complex, but I'm gonna tell you something. Nothing's gonna change until there's reforming, until there's reformation all the way through. Because as Attorney Mack was talking, like he said, they closed the psychiatric hospitals. They didn't want to reform them. They closed them and just shipped everybody now to the penitentiary. Now you have so many elements and variables that are involved in the penitentiary. You got medication, you got pharmaceuticals. You got people who there's testing in there. And let us not remember what Shawanna had talked about was sterilization. But they're not just sterilizing from what I hear. It's not just the women, but also men, from what I'm hearing. Now, what I know is that at the root of all this is money. Money that they don't want to get rid of because clearly they do not have the workforce numbers or the therapeutic means to help anybody heal.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of trying to reach out and redesign the whole thing, so it's not so the money is not just going to one area, but you need help with people who are professionals, maybe with people with other organizations who really want to help somebody. But they don't do that. And so you still continue to have in power, in leadership, as wardens, in these powerful positions people who are ill-equipped and ignorant and continue to do the same thing over and over again. And what gets me is that people who have voted for these people expect some kind of change. Nothing's going to happen. In fact, they don't even expect change. Some people don't even know what's going on. And I believe, of course, we are here to help people wake up.
Yes.
That's
Trisha,
right.
I see you back.
Yeah, my reception was messed up, but first of all, to add to what Reverend Tia said is that the prison system banks on the fact that people won't be healed. Like it's so intentional. It's not like they don't even have money to do the things that need to be done. It's $1 billion industry, right? So the money is there, but when you're banking on those bodies to be able to keep this $1 billion industry going, do you want healing? No. As a matter of fact, you don't want anything. That's why you took education away. That's why people can't even get degrees anymore, because they don't want any form of treatment at all, because they want to keep that revolving door and then turn around and blame the victim, or like what we would like to call survivors that has survived these type of conditions that don't even have to be. And when I look at it, like you said, we keep voting these people in. It's so funny because we be wanting to protest and go, and I be telling people all the time, yeah, come on, let's go protest, but also protest against yourself too. Because you didn't put these people in office year after year after year after year and have not done anything. So in order to hold somebody accountable, you first got to start with yourself. And I'm not saying, and I'm talking about myself. I voted for Kim Worthy before years ago, not knowing who she was. Washtenaw County, I voted for Brian Mackey years ago, not really knowing who he was. But see, we got to be intentional. We don't know no more. Because us not knowing is costing us our life. What does the word say? That people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. And we got too much knowledge and power, but we got to continue to pass it. And it's platforms like this, and it's books like Shawanna's and different things that are being done. We have to continue. We got to up the ante, actually, because we've got to get the word out. This is the only way that these things are going to change. Because right now, business as usual is front and center. But we've got to disrupt business as usual and then rebuild what we know is right for human beings.
In that same spirit, when you know better, you do better. And adults hold themselves accountable. Yes, you voted for this person. You made the mistake before. Okay, now you know, time to do better. But for the youth, that can also happen. And that can happen in schools. Parents, the relationships between parents and children. As a parent, you've been through things, but you should be looking to know better, to do better for your kids. And they're going to do better if you're doing better. You're educating them the right way on how to see themselves, how to see, power in being Black. Right. Not to see it as something that's, harming them, to see it as something that's beautiful. Right. And to do that, I feel like it has to stop being a sense of, a lot of people of color and then, Black people, but just, I see this, apologist energy, apologizing for being Black. Just this apologist energy. I like going into environments, trying to be something you're not. You can't physically be something you were never meant to exist as. You can't. And this typically happens, the child goes to a suburban school that is Black, and you can become insecure. You're trying to fit into something that you could never, ever be. And that can feel extremely harmful. And that's when parents really need to step in and let them know, stop apologizing for who you are. This is who you are, and it's fine. Stop trying to fit into something that you can never be. Stop, it's like they're just imagining that cycle as a kid, wondering why, trying the same thing over, getting the same result is insanity, and that's what's happening there. But yeah, that apologist mindset of, apologizing for who you are, that needs to stop. We need to be unapologetically Black, as youth and adults.
Right. And that's also learning to love yourself, learning to love who you are, learning to love the skin that you're in, learning to love each other, learning to love your community. It starts with love. And when you don't have hope, and which Trisha was saying about how they took the classes out of the prisons and the programs out, when people are in a situation that they feel hopeless, they have nothing to look forward to. What's next? You go down the dark hole of thinking that you're not good enough, you're not worthy of your freedom or life. So we have to get back to love.
That's right. That's right. And I want to say this. On Sam Riddle's show, he'll play a snippet of a speech given by Malcolm X. And Malcolm X was talking to people in the audience and was saying, who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? And every time I hear that, Malcolm saying that, it sends a chill down, because I'm gonna tell you, even, in my own youth growing up, I mean, I just remember so many times being subjected to that, on people teaching me to hate myself. I mean, one example was in my scouting experience. We had a part where we were replicating Indians, and I remember the white boys laughing at me because of having an Indian costume, as I was a standout, and thinking that was funny. But the reality of it is, I was closer to the Native American Indians than any of them white guys were. So really, I'm the one who should have been laughing at them. But you see, the culture was teaching me to hate myself, through the institutions, And so I had to, deal with that, growing up. And I mean, I'm sure every black person has had to confront that, with the mojo they done really try to lay up on us to have us hating ourselves, and replicating other people, the blonde hair, blue eyes syndrome. There's nothing wrong with having blonde hair and blue eyes. But I'm just saying it certainly took a while for me to realize that, like Jesse said, when you're looking at yourself in a pool of water, don't think the water is muddy. That's who you look like. That's your skin complexion. That's what you are. And to love what you see in that mirror.
Right. And I know that you and Shawanna can attest to this, that even inside the institution is teaching you to hate yourself. It's teaching you, it's dirty.
Yeah.
It's so much criminal activity in a place that you're supposed to be going to get rehabilitated. That's what they say. But I mean, all the things that you come through, the trauma is teaching you. You come out hating yourself, and then you come out to the stigma of being, you're a felon, or how people look at you. You come out to the there's no place where you're gonna live. All these things, where you're gonna work. All these things piled up. I was just reading that those that are newly released, that says 1 in every 2 days kill themselves, newly released inmates, because of everything that they're going through, the trauma that you've been talking about, Shawanna.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Shawanna, because those numbers are horrific, because they don't have many people come out not having a plan. There's no plan of discharge. And when people go in, when they did, I think the last study I read, even with just pregnant women alone, less than 50% get a full assessment when they enter into the prison. So I don't know what these numbers, I'm talking about a full social economic system so they can plan to heal. There's no plan to heal. Mm-hmm. So if there's no plan, they're not going anywhere. But I was going to ask Shawanna, because she had mentioned in the chat talking about the peer specialist in prison. And I've heard of that, where the peer specialist is supposed to be helping in the counseling and the therapy within the prison. And because people are on the outside, how is that going?
Shawanna. Shawanna, did you hear the question?
Yes, I'm sorry, ladies. You know, I was listening to Mr. Hugo, and I would be remiss if I did not say, just day before yesterday in Lansing, Michigan, there was a young man, and his name is Alex Furling, and he committed suicide. And because this day is so important and so special, I was actually supposed to be in Michigan at his funeral. He went to the military. He came home. He went to prison. And this young man at 29 years old killed himself in his father's backyard 2 weeks ago. And his funeral was yesterday. And I looked up the stats for Michigan, and it has the third highest suicide rate of African Americans in the country. Mm. And then I heard somebody talk about social economics and poverty. And when I was speaking to his family, and I said, you know, how did we get here, and how could we have prevented this act? And they said the military, the VA didn't help. Prison sent him over the edge, and he killed himself. And everything that we've all said is so important and so vital, because as we're on this line and this conversation is so important, I'm understanding that as African Americans, we are in a state of emergency for mental health of all kinds, on all fronts. I'm currently talking to gentlemen in Gus Harrison Prison who do peer specialists. And I didn't know, you know, if you guys are aware of like what that looks like in the prisons in Michigan and why they have them. Though I agree peer specialists are good in society, I don't agree they're good in prison for $3 an hour. And I don't believe that a person should be taking care of another human being on suicide watch. Because when they become suicidal, there's nobody for them. And this is what they're telling me, that they no longer want these jobs as peer specialists for people who are on suicide watch. And I understand why Michigan does it, because they got it from the feds, because it saves almost $1 billion, because they don't have to have trauma-informed therapists to deal with real people. I really want to figure out how how we as a coalition of advocates can advocate to rescind Michigan peer specialists in prison, because they're not trained for that. Allie is trained for that. Tia is being trained for that. The incarcerated person who didn't even have a GED is not trained for that.
Right.
And I really want to figure out how do we build something to change the legislature and best practices for MDOC.
That's almost heartbreaking to hear that another inmate is trying to be a mental professional for another inmate just to save money.
Right. Yeah, and can I say something, J Love?
Yeah, go ahead, Attorney Hugo Mack.
You know, from my own penitentiary experience, let me tell you how low the department would get. Now, they would deliberately talk about trying to save money at somebody else's expense. let's say they have a older person, like myself, maybe in their 40s, whatever, in the penitentiary at the time. Now they would have a system where they would deliberately try to put that older person. So let's say you have a 19-year-old person coming to the penitentiary. They would, had a counselor admit this to me, to try to place that younger person, maybe some incorrigible in their eyes, what have you, with that older person, to say, well, they can pick up some coping skills from that older inmate, so put them in there. And see, and the thing of it is that was a way of really trying to them not trying to address the problem and really use the inmates as some kind of a counseling shield or foil to try to keep these young bucks in line. You see what I'm saying? Not because they were so concerned about my safety or the young brother's safety, but just to try to keep the institution in a more of a sedated sense, where they getting their $100,000 a year, the warden getting his or her $100,000 a year, and I'm getting $3.20 a day working in the law library. See what I'm saying? Where my well-being and my health, my sanity is online in a pseudo counseling role that I was neither equipped nor compensated for doing. So that's one of those penitentiary tricks they use. And I'm so heartbroken with this peer counselor situation, because what the sister said is right. You can't really ask the blind to lead the blind,
Right.
and then try to say you raising hell, because you're really not.
Right.
There's a lot of research to show that when you restrict funding for mental health programs, especially on this magnitude, it's not successful. There's a lot of that. I know Sweden has a whole different, in terms of prison rehabilitation. It's set up completely different, and of course a lot better than ours.
Oh yeah. Right.
But they created a system, and the rate of return is completely decreasing. And those in charge were talking about, shifting funds away from that program, and they were saying they're concerned that it won't be as effective. And that's why legislation is so important, for allies out there who are looking to support these kind of causes. I feel as though we should look at it a certain way, or they should look at it a certain way. For them, the effects of the policies being changed and funds being shifted more into mental health may feel like just an accommodation for them. But for Black and disabled people, it's improving the quality of life. It's much more serious. And I feel like that's how it needs to be looked at. It's not just a simple yes or no on the ballot. It's completely shifting someone's life. But yeah, and to really get movement around that, just what Shawanna was saying, we need bodies, we need the people, we need to rally together all movements into this movement, because everything leads back to white supremacy. It always leads back to, mass incarceration, every single thing. Where the money's going, whether it's climate change, money's not going into that, because where's it going? The police and prisons. It's all leading back to the same area. We all need to come together on dismantling this system and creating a better one.
Yeah. Because what do you expect when people are in a dirty, disrupted system every single day? Do you think, and they're not getting any treatment, and probably getting just, whatever, pills or whatever they're giving them? How do you expect them to come back home and be productive? But, like you said, in Sweden, they have a whole different system. People are being trained, it's clean, it's more for the whole person. And when they come out, when they come home, they're ready to do whatever it is, that they need to do to, live their lives. Here, you're dealing with stress and trauma, isolation, and you expect for people to achieve, where you give them nothing to push them forward, not much anyway.
Yeah, and just one more point I meant to make. At and I know people like when I think about like coming together and this is like a lot. What do I even do? I can't stress enough voting locally, and I really really mean that. You know, you got Dearborn Proposal A, where the city charter would be amended, and that would mean you can create a whole new city charter because it hasn't been updated in like a decade, and it says in there that the police are you have to have a certain amount of police always, which makes their budget really big. So like they follow in that charter, so that things like that, things like Proposal P, the People's Charter in Detroit, you got Texas. Austin, Texas, Proposal A, that is on the November ballot, which would increase police funding, in addition to like $400 million that's already going into it. You got Proposal C that was voted on in Austin, Texas, in May, and it passed, unfortunately. But it says you couldn't be homeless. It's a misdemeanor and a fine for homeless people. So in there includes laying down and all that. And you know who that affects? That affects the mentally disabled people because that's a large amount of people who's homeless. So you're going to be putting them in jail. So that's all things that are on the ballot. These proposals and people like these are the cities we live in. So you can do something to stop this. It's right in your backyard.
Right. Trisha? Trisha is.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, okay. There she is.
Is it going in and out?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you out
Okay.
now.
The one thing that I've been thinking about whenever is the fact that when
you going in and out, Trisha.
It's
We're gonna let
it's not on your radar.
We're gonna come back to Trisha. Rev Tia.
Yes, the thing that keeps going through my mind is what is the expectation? What is the expectation? We have to begin to ask ourselves, what are we expecting?
Right.
And there is no expectation. If there's no expectation of anyone, you can go with a child. I would always tell people a child will perform according to the expectation of the parent.
Mm-hmm.
So if I remember my son, he played basketball, football, ran track. Well, both sons did. And but one of them, he always would start his the first part of the school year, kind of not doing what he's supposed to do. You get that first, it's not the report card, it was just a progress report. So I would just look at him. It wouldn't be really bad grades, it would just be a C, but I knew him. Mm-hmm. And I knew his potential. And I said, well, is this all you can do? No, Mama, I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring it up. Yeah, because the expectation is that if you don't, you can watch basketball with me and just watch your brother play if you want to. I don't mind having somebody sitting next to me, because what you're not going to do is touch a basketball if you can't deliver in the classroom. But that was my expectation. He knew the expectation. Now, I wasn't expecting all A's. I'm expecting you to do your best. And so, but by the time the people go into prison or are incarcerated, the expectation has started long ago. But when even in prison, there's no expectation for recovery. Mm-hmm. There's no expectation of healing. There's no expectation of when you leave here, you're going to be a viable asset to society.
Right.
There's no expectation to motivate them to go to another level. And without that expectation, what is the expectation? The expectation is, oh, you're going to be back again. The expectation is you might die right here. The expectation is, we're going to turn you out. You got all these other expectations because there's no policy of anything to put in there that says the expectation is that you heal and that you recover. There's no recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And so from the beginning to the end, there needs to be expectation.
Right. I agree. Because it's like a machine, you're just constantly feeding it. If someone telling you every day you'll be back, then it's killing your expectation of hope. It's killing your expectation of life after being incarcerated, because somebody's constantly telling you you're not good enough, you'll be back. So.
And Jay, many of these people already had that when they were little, is what I'm saying.
Right.
They already had it from society. You're going to go to jail. They already had that. Mm-hmm. You're going to get picked up. You're not going to be nothing. Right. Or the person who your mama wasn't nothing, your daddy wasn't nothing, not going to be nothing either. You just a thug. You got all these expectations. And believe it or not, look, not too long ago, I have heard 50-year-old men say, well, I'm just a street N-word. I'm just a street man. I'm just a street person. Is that all you got? Mm-hmm. That's all you got. That's all you are. But that has been the expectation. And in some ways, some of these ideas of being tough and being related to prison has been commercialized. And we got to look at that too.
Right.
We are damning ourselves.
Right.
So there's so many variables to look at when you talk about incarceration, when you talk about mental health. And what the first thing, like someone said earlier, I think it was you, what are you doing to yourself?
Right. You bet, Trisha?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 things I want to say very quickly. I have to share this story. We talk about mental health, and I believe I heard Reverend Tia also say that, unfortunately, people don't come home with a plan, and that's very strategic and it's intentional. I'll never forget, years ago, I was working at a bank, and it wasn't our particular branch, but it was within our company. This man went in, he robbed the bank, came out, and sat on the curb and waited for the police to get there. We looking like, what is going on here? Didn't take the money, had the bag of money sitting right there. You know what? That man said, look, give me my 3, three hots and a cot. Because he didn't have a plan, he didn't see a way out. He said, I'll just go back in. He didn't have no family. He had nothing. So we have to make sure that people are coming home to hope.
Yes.
And the only way to really do that, and now this is what I was trying to say earlier, if it's not in your backyard, it's not on your radar. That's no longer good enough. Mm-hmm. When we say, I'm my brother's keeper, that's not a one-way street, because that one day you're going to need keeping too. Don't wait until trouble taps on your doorstep to get involved. When you can get involved right now and be intentional about the work. Everybody's voice is needed. Because if everybody's voice is not at the table, then that means they'll be able to look and say, well, these people over here ain't thinking about that. No, everybody needs to be concerned about Black mental health matters. Everybody needs to be concerned about mass incarceration. Everybody needs to be concerned about wrongful convictions. Everybody needs to be worried about post-traumatic prison disorder. This has to be on all of our minds and all of our hearts in order for us to effectively change. And then lastly, don't fight for me like you fighting for me. Fight for me like you would fight for yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't fight for anybody like you fighting for them. Fight for people like you would fight for yourself. Because if you're fighting for yourself, you're gonna put your everything into it. And
Yeah.
that's how we need to show up for people.
Yes.
Yes, mic drop on that.
Yeah.
Like it's your quality of life on a ballot. Like it's you.
Yes. That was good, Trisha. Trisha, why I got you talking? Talk about the Wrongful Conviction Summit that's coming up.
Oh my goodness. We're super excited about the summit. October the 2nd, from 11 to 12, we're going to have families that have their tables on display, being interviewed by people. You can also come by and hear their stories. And then we'll start the summit at 12. And I'm excited because we'll have many different panels. We're going to have a panel of the National Organization of Exonerees. We'll have a panel of the families. And we're definitely going to have a panel with turning a moment into a movement. We're going to have a panel actually with our legislators. I mean, we are going to have everybody at the table. And this is what it takes for us to bring about true change. We're also excited. We're going to have Dr. Abdul El Said. He wrote the book Healing Politics, and talking about how we can heal from this situation and what we can do to make things better and do our part. So we're just really excited. Now we are locking, I know I've been saying this, we are locking in on the venue. We have a space, but unfortunately because of COVID, everybody's playing it safe. So we're just waiting to get the word any day now. But we will be in the Detroit area. Please bring your family, bring your friends, bring everybody that you can. You don't have to be affected by wrongful incarceration. Those are the ones that we need to be there, right? Those that
Mhm.
aren't affected, so that they can get the knowledge and understand what's the atrocities that are going on with wrongful convictions. So please stay tuned to our page. Stay tuned to Turning a Moment into a Movement in the Justice for Gerard page as well, because more details are coming soon.
Yes, and you're right. Change only happens when those who are unaffected get just as mad as those who are affected. That's when change happens. So it takes all of us. It's just not on me. It's just not on you, Hugo, Tia. It's on all of us to work for change. And it takes all of us working together, no matter who you are, because it affects everyone. Injustice affects everyone. So I have some flyers that I want to put up for those who are um, contemplating suicide, or a family member that you know that's having issues. This is a number 1-800-273-TALK. Please pass that on or use it. It's, we all need to just help each other and give out this information, because suicide is the real pandemic. Almost, it's estimated that over 700,000 people die by suicide worldwide each year. That's a huge number. That's a huge number. So it's going to take all of us. Also, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. So we have to be able to find somebody that you could talk to. It's not about feeling shame. It's about getting help. Rev Tia?
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what? We really have not maximized the potential here in the United States. We have not maximized our potential as a country.
Mm-hmm.
And we will not maximize it until we get rid of these disparities, until we are able to really allow people to offer the best of who they are in this country. Mm-hmm. But we can't offer the best of who we are in this country if we continue to allow these kind of atrocities to exist. And so we have to get out and make change. And because really this is a national crisis. This is a national crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And we are hurting ourselves, black, white, or indifferent. I don't care who you are. If we are not for all of humanity. We are hurting ourselves.
Yes.
And we are hurting ourselves as a country. As a country. You know, you've got some scientists that are up in prison. You got some great doctors, inventors, and lawyers and mothers and fathers and up in prison.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make a change. We need to do something different. And just talking it is not enough anymore.
Right.
We have to be about our business.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be it. You know, and if you know people who are not in it and in their own little world, eventually your world will be will be interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got soldiers that are could have been in the Navy or the Army or the Air Force, and they're locked up in prison. And you don't have a maximized defense in America.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're in prison.
Right.
You know, so until we do something different, everybody's world, eventually, you're going to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well act now.
Yes. Attorney Hugo Matt.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, unfortunately, technology has messed me up again, but you might not see me, but you can hear me. Look, you know, first of all, I really so moved by every time we get together, but I tell you, the suicide thing touches me so personal, okay? Because I feel the pain, you know, I do. And
Uh-oh. Attorney Hugo Matt jogged out.
Oh, wow.
So, did you have something that you wanted to say, Trisha?
Yeah, I just had one more thing I wanted to add. I'm sorry for being so
Oh, yeah.
long-winded.
No, you're fine.
But also, you know, everybody knows me as the executive director of Survivor Speak, but I'm also the director of outreach and programming at SOAR, and that's SOOAR. At SOAR, we do offer QPR suicide prevention workshops, and so if you want to get a group of friends together and go to the park, if you want us to come to your church, if you'd like us to come to your family reunions, we will get this information out. And basically it just gives tidbits of what you can do to help somebody in that moment and get them and persuade them to live and then get them to help. Everybody can play a part. Everybody can play a role. And we teach people how to do this step by step. Of course, we're not going to save our lives, but if we implement certain tools and step in, because I'm telling you, people don't want to die. They want the pain to end. And if we can do that, we would love to just empower families and communities. Again, it's QPR, question, persuade, and refer. And we do offer this module. You can call SOAR at 734-697-9511. Leave a message. Let us know that you are interested in a QPR suicide prevention workshop, and we will be more than willing to come and facilitate that for you for free.
What's the number again?
It is 734-697-9511.
All right. Yes, that's awesome. Thank you, Trisha. So, also, Cries for Change. This book is by Shawanna Vaughn. Hopefully, I'll have a link soon where you can get this book from Shawanna, and she goes into about the post-traumatic prison disorder. And so we have a lot of tools out here. We just had to, tap into them. I want to thank, Attorney Hugo Matt is back. Let's see if I can get him for closing remarks. Attorney Hugo Matt.
yes, I apologize. The reception keeps fading on me here. I want to say this. the suicide issue touches me so personal. You know, having friends that I made in the penitentiary that are gone, that are gone. And I'm not just talking about just dying in the penitentiary. I'm talking about dying when you come out, okay? Because the burden is there. We have a very vicious system in Michigan where we continue to stigmatize somebody that has come back from the penitentiary. Even though a debt has been paid, you can't find decent housing. You can't get a job. You can't get education in most parts, in most ways, and it's hard. And I tell you, it really takes a really supernatural force to keep a person centered from not being a recidivist or turn to drugs or something, especially people that are mentally ill. We have no follow-up, and I don't care what anybody tells you, in the parole system for somebody with mental illness. We have more medication, just like they gave them in the penitentiary. That's what it is. And if you pick up a charge, you're going to get next to zero sympathy for that situation. So, I would just encourage everybody to keep fighting. I'm so looking forward to early October, Trichet. I'm looking forward to it, to us being a part of it together. And J Love, co-host on Riddle at Random or whatever, and all these Tia and the good sister that was on. My phone number 734-239-3118. I'm having a hard time putting that in the chat so she can reach me. But my close 734-239-3118. So please put that in the chat, and and Allie. And so I'm encouraged, sisters. I'm encouraged because you notice one thing: even though they try to beat us down, we still keep getting up. Have you noticed that? With all the nonsense going on, we still here. Crochet riding around in her Mercedes and all that, but she's still here. She's still.
You mean my Ford Fiesta?
She's still here, and J Love, J Love, like Sam Riddle said, your son out the penitentiary, but you still here. You are still here. And Tia Littlejohn, your son's successful business people, working on your doctorate, but you still here. You are still here, and Allie and Edward, so y'all encourage me. So I love you in Jesus Christ. And and so we here, and we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere but up. So y'all be blessed this week. Y'all be blessed.
Thank you. I just saw Baraka. He just popped in. We're gonna say
all right,
hi
Baraka, my brother. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you.
So yeah,
hey, I have to apologize to you guys. I'm at a ball game, and I know I should have called and said something, but I actually forgot. I was intending to let another party drive. But in any case, what's going on? What you guys talking about?
Baraka, we was talking about prison, traumatic prison disorder, and also suicide prevention.
Right. You guys was talking about suicide. Yeah, I really was intending to make a contribution to that conversation. I actually knew quite a few people who had committed suicide. One well-known person was Ricky Womack. Some of you guys may know Ricky. He was a former boxer that was well known in the city of Detroit and here in Michigan. And some of our heavyweight contenders that have been holding that title down for some years, he actually expired with some of those guys. Probably unknown to Ricky Womack family and friends. He actually tried to commit suicide while he was in prison when he wasn't successful with getting a parole. And then after he finally did get a parole a few years later and got out and tried to start his boxing career back, he wound up taking his own life, And so there are real pressures when a person come home from prison. And sometimes family and friends are not they're not prepared to take and to deal with that. And sometimes they unwittingly add to the trauma that the person may be going through. And so this is something that we all need to take and seek guidance from. And it is a great idea to come up with a concept of first identifying it as being a traumatic experience, and then identifying the type of treatment that that should address its symptoms and so forth. So I really commend our guests for taking and having the wherewithal to take and actually do that.
Right. Well, thank you for, popping in. We appreciate you. We always appreciate you. So we're going to get ready to get out of here, you guys. And thank you, the panel, so much. Thanks to Shawanna. Today was her daughter's birthday, and she was in the park. She's actually, I was surprised she was at home because she's always in Michigan, but she's in New York. So I appreciate her and all you guys. And we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, hey love. Everybody stay blessed this week. Amen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome.